Oh, good morning, everyone. Here and there. Hello over there. We have arrived at the beginning of this talk with some technical things that had to happen and some chanting that had to happen, and we all had to get out of our beds this morning and show up here, so welcome. So I mentioned to someone in the little sitting group that I have out in North Jersey that I actually started practicing with the Village Zendo in 2001, shortly before September 11th. And within a few months, the towers came down. Plane crash landed in a field in Pennsylvania. And the world changed overnight. There was a great deal of grief and anger and fear. It was a very difficult time. And I have the same feeling now. I really have the same feeling now. For a brief time in the weeks and months after September 11th, we came together as a nation in our fear and sadness and solidarity. For a brief period of time, trust in the federal government and in news organizations reached an all-time high. There's data about this. Sadly, today, we're living at a time when many of our beliefs about the world and about the nation that we live in are under assault. The rule of law, our relationships with long-standing allies, free speech, civil rights, financial security, food security. I feel the moral authority and trustworthiness of these United States have already been irreparably harmed, though the protests of April 5th and some of the actions that good people around this country are taking since then have raised my hope that we will yet again find a way through this crisis. The work is not done, of course. So we're left with the question, how do we respond? What is an appropriate action at this moment in America, in my life, in your life? So I was moved actually by a talk that Yugetsu gave not long ago about the anger-eating demon. It's an old parable. And it's very easy to fall into anger. Of course, anger can be a useful motivator, but I think we all know that it's dangerous medicine. It's more likely to cause harm than good. So the image in the story that Yugetsu told of this anger-eating demon who feeds on anger, feeds on our anger, sitting on the throne of Shakya, the king of the gods. And what does Shakya do? He comes in and he bows. And he bows again. And he bows again. And with each bow, the anger-eating demon deflates a little bit. Yugetsu said that if we can free up from the emotional energy associated with our anger, it transforms into something else. She said we must face our anger on the Bodhisattva path. We can't tamp it down or wish it away. We need to face it. We face it by not knowing, by bearing witness, and by taking skillful action, the 3 steps of the Zen peacemaker's path. And so people all over the country are going to town meetings and protests, writing, talking with each other, calling their representatives. And we're doing all of this, and at the same time, we do what we do when we bow here in the Zendo. We're bowing to the Buddha inside each of us, and remembering that that essence is there. So I was inspired by Yugetsu's talk, and surprisingly, the day after I heard her talk, I came across a podcast that told me, for the first time, I learned about the parable of the two wolves. So I don't know if you know the parable of the two wolves, but I'll read it for you. So a grandfather is talking with his grandson, and the grandfather says, "In life, there are two wolves inside of us which are always at battle. One is a good wolf, which represents things like kindness and bravery and love. The other is a bad wolf, which represent things like greed and hatred and fear." The grandson stops and thinks about it for a second. Then he looks up at his grandfather and says, "Grandfather, which one wins?" The grandfather replies, "The one you feed." It's the same parable as the anger-eating demon. Which one wins? The one you feed. So, inspired by the anger-eating demon and the parable of the two wolves, today I'll offer another animal that we must confront. We must confront Sui Feng's turtle-nosed snake. So I'll recite this koan for you. So Sui Feng taught the assembly, "On South Mountain, there's a turtle-nosed snake. All of you people must take a good look." Chang Ching said, "In the hall today, there certainly are people who are losing their bodies and lives." A monk asked Swan Sha, "Well, what about you, teacher?" And Swan Sha said, "Why make use of South Mountain?" So what is this turtle-nosed snake? So in the koan, it's referring to a venomous snake, which if it bites us, we die. And South Mountain, the South Mountain that's referred to in the koan, was very close to Sui Feng's monastery. And there lived these venomous snakes, which if you were bitten by one of them, you would die. But Sui Feng in this koan says that everyone must confront this snake. He says that in Zen practice, everyone must be bitten by this snake and must die the great death, the death of the small self. So Buddhist teachings say that there is no fixed, permanent self. That's what we are taught. But as we practice, I think we realize that the illusion of a self is very, very deeply rooted in all of us. It goes back to our earliest childhood experiences, and it persists despite many years of diligent practice. And because of this illusion of a self, each and every experience we have is colored, to a greater degree or another, by our self-interest. Even our spiritual practice often has the taint of self-interest, where our motivation is the accumulation of merit, or our appearance in the eyes of our teacher, or our appearance in the eyes of anyone else. Self-interest. But when we drop the illusion of self, we wake up to the truth of reality. We arrive with all things in each moment, and together we create the world. Huang Po said, "This mind of no mind of conceptual thought. This mind is no mind of conceptual thought, and it is completely detached from form. Buddhas and sentient beings do not differ at all. If you can only rid yourselves of conceptual thought, you will have accomplished everything." Our attachment to our thoughts and concepts about anything is the problem. We take our thoughts to be the truth and fail to see that they are opinions. And the world is much larger and more magnificent than anything we can conceive. So when we sit in zazen, we patiently refuse to attach to our thoughts about ourselves, our thoughts about other people, about events in the world. This is why we come to the cushion, because we need, even just for the 30 minutes when we're on the cushion, to drop our thoughts. They'll come back. They didn't go anywhere, but we need to give ourselves that moment or moments of dropping body and mind. It's actually a form of self-care, which is also important at this time. When we sit on the cushion, we bring ourselves to the only certain reality, the present moment. We turn ourselves away from our personal fantasy into the reality of the present. So this encounter with the turtle-nosed snake in zazen teaches us that we must live and act in the reality of the present. This encounter on the cushion becomes part of us, on and off the cushion. Now, the Great Death, the idea of the Great Death, I think it sort of reifies some sort of all-encompassing Kensho experience. And Kensho experiences, if you have had one, they're wonderful. It's an experience like anything else. But I don't want to reify Kensho, because the turtle-nosed snake is counting your breath. The turtle-nosed snake is straightening your cushion. The turtle-nosed snake is your tears of sadness when you suffer loss. The turtle-nosed snake is washing your bowls. The turtle-nosed snake is taking care of yourself and others. The turtle-nosed snake is speaking out against injustice. The turtle-nosed snake is not being caught up in winning and losing. The turtle-nosed snake is Buddha. So each of us must handle the turtle-nosed snake of no mind. Chang Ching said, in the hall today, there certainly are people who are losing their bodies and lives. And this is certainly true. Here today, in this hall, there are people who have lost their bodies and minds, dying the great death, awakening to oneness. This is the first tenet of a Zen peacemaker. I will embody not knowing, thereby giving up fixed ideas. On the Zen peacemaker's path, bodhisattva action starts by penetrating the unknown. So there's a wonderful commentary that goes along with this koan in the Blue Cliff Record, and so I'll kind of cover part of it. It says that, and there are lots of teachers in here, and the specific names of the teachers aren't terribly relevant, but in the commentary it says that Sui Feng went with Yen Tu to visit another teacher, Qin Shan. And they got to an inn and were snowed in. And day after day, Yen Tu just slept, while Sui Feng sat constantly in meditation. And at one point, Yen Tu yelled at him and said, "Get some sleep. Every day you're on the meditation cushion, acting like a clay statue." And Feng pointed to his breast and said, "Teacher, I am not yet at peace. I don't dare deceive myself." Tu said, "I had the thought that later on you would go on to the summit of a solitary peak, build a hut of straw, and propagate the great teaching. But you're still making such a statement as this?" Feng said, "I'm really not at peace." Tu said, "If you're really like this, bring forth your views one by one. Where they're correct, I'll approve them for you. And where they're wrong, I'll prune them away for you. He's offering a compassionate teaching. And so the koan goes on with Feng talking about the moments of insight that he's experienced, and Tu taking the insight away. Feng said, when I saw so-and-so, some teacher, he brought up the meaning of form and void, and I gained entry. Tu replied, for 30 years you must avoid mentioning this. Feng said, when I heard Dongshan's verse on crossing the river, I had an insight. Tu replied, if you keep on thinking like this, you'll never save yourself. And Feng said, well, do I have a part in the affairs of the ancient sect or not? And Tu struck him with his staff and said, what are you saying? In story after story, Feng relates an experience that he's hanging on to, thinking that perhaps this is the realization he's seeking. And each time the teacher kicks over the bucket, not it. All views that we attach to cloud the mind. All views that we attach to cloud the mind, even Buddhist views. And at the end, Feng asks, then what should I do? And that is the question, isn't it? Once we have dropped views, what then? Tu says, in the future, if you want to propagate the great teaching, let each point flow out from your breast to come out and cover heaven and earth for you. Here we are sitting in True Expression Temple. Let each point flow out from your breast to come out and cover heaven and earth for you. When we give up views, then we can live freely. We can live the life of a Buddha. Not attached to anything. We're free to take care of ourselves and the world. So this koan ends with Sui Feng's verse. I'll read it to you. Human life, so hectic and hurried, is but a brief instant. How can you dwell for long in the fleeting world? As I reached 32, I emerged from the mountains. Already over 40, I returned to my place on Elephant Bone Mountain. No use bringing up the faults of others again and again. One's own mistakes must be cleared away continually. I humbly report to the purple-clad nobles who fill the court. The King of Death has no awe of the golden emblems of rank you wear. Why not face the King of Death today? Why not meet him today and live? Thank you all for your practice.